Jesus, dude, why did this just get recommended to me? Okay, hold on. Pause. Weird new segment alert. This just got recommended on my YouTube page. You see this right here? Xplay episode compendium 2005 edition. It's a 12-hour video. And look at this transportation back in time. So I don't know if you guys grew up on Xplay. Oh my God, dude. It's so 2005. Oh, dude.
Please welcome some people on this show. Adam Sessler and Morgan.
Oh, the
Webb.
random zoom-ins they used to do.
Hello, and welcome to Xplay, the show that brings you brutally honest video game reviews.
On today's episode, we review two of the biggest online RPGs of the year.
World of Warcraft.
And EverQuest 2.
Yes, elves, dragons, dwarves, and 2 games that will take over your life, ruin your marriage, and consume your soul. If you still have one after watching this show.
Which you don't. But that's not all. We also have Madden NFL Flip.
Oh my God, dude, it's so cringe and I love it so much, dude. It's it's like if a bunch of like middle schoolers or high schoolers came together and were like, let's create a TV show. Let's do that. Man, this is a throwback. This is a throwback. So for those of you that like maybe are not familiar, this particular show, Xplay, let's see if we can just pull up like the Wikipedia on it. Xplay, which you might recognize it from this logo, which is a little different than what they're showing in this. You might have also heard of it with like G4. G4 was a channel that it was basically centered around gaming and like tech and all of this stuff that now is almost exclusively on YouTube and streaming and everything else. But it was a TV channel. And the idea was basically, hey, there's a ton of gamers out there. Why don't we create a TV channel for gamers and nerds and just put content on there 24/7? We'll rake it in. It'll be great. And it's true that they did, in fact, make buku bucks for a while. But you notice like it started to die out right around 2013. Everything went towards G4 from 2005 to 2013. And then in 2013, they shut it down. And it was really, really interesting. There's many moving parts to it. But at the end of the day, the core problem was just that TV productions like this are very expensive. These guys are making buku bucks doing this. And then they have a studio space, expensive cameras, there's licensing fees, they have 20 writers involved. Like it's a huge operation with millions and millions and millions of dollars at play. And it's just like, it's a big operation. And then once YouTube came along and then you had people that were able to do these updates instantaneously in the middle of the night when news would drop, just like fine. Like nothing was happening. They just couldn't compete anymore. And then a lot of the people that worked on these shows ended up going and starting their own YouTube channels, kind of going independent, creating their own careers and platforms. And, I think the nostalgia factor, a lot of people look back on this, at least a few years ago. And those of you who know the end of this story know how this is going to go. But a lot of us we're like, oh, this would be so cool to have again, to have basically another channel or high production value TV grade show on video games. Wouldn't that be cool? Turns out not really. There's a reason that it kind of died out. What happened is after 2013, they shut the show down and kind of moved on, but they brought it back. So on July 24th of 2020, the Twitter accounts of G4, Attack of the Show, and Xplay were reactivated to post a teaser video announcing a revival of the network slated for 2021. The teaser was released during Comic-Con at Home, the first virtual streaming edition of the San Diego Comic-Con. G4's website was reopened with a playable game of Pong, which if won, redirected to a mailing list to sign up for updates and a free shirt promo code. The campaign was in reference to the network's original launch in 2002 and they're shut down in 2014. This is what they posted. I mean, we never stopped playing. And everybody, you can see like, people start to be like, oh, this is interesting. 48,000 likes. People seemed to be interested, right? People seemed to be interested. The point with all this is that a lot of people were very excited at the prospect of G4 returning. Now, you may be listening and being like, Luke, I still don't know what G4 is. I haven't heard of these guys. Are they still even doing stuff? Where are they? Clearly they can't be that successful if I haven't heard of them, or if they haven't been making stuff that's trending in the gaming space. And you're right, they have not been, because they actually are no longer a thing. There's a lot of moving parts to this tale of the collapse of all of this. It's a little more complicated than you might have thought. So they brought it back, and this was the channel. I mean, they had all sorts of stuff. So their content would be something like this. So like, this is a video on Gotham Knights. If we pull that up, if we just watch a tidbit of this, this should tell you like, okay, is this worth millions and millions of dollars? But it was millions and millions of dollars. I mean, tons of money was poured into this reboot at just millions and millions of dollars. And it ended up just totally floundering. But it's because, again, if you watch these videos, like, is this content worth millions of dollars of expense?
Gotham Knights follows Nightwing, Tim Drake Robin, Red Hood, and Batgirl as they try to protect Gotham in the wake of Batman's death. That's right.
So it's okay. I mean, they got bookmarks here, characters, co-op, initial impressions, interview with devs. So they have connections. I mean, this is one of the biggest things that a place like G4 or Kind of Funny Games, like, they have at their disposal, is that they have the connections to get like dev interviews, to get early access to stuff, you know, and that's a huge, huge perk that not many independent creators have. I mean, a lot of these big companies view like YouTubers and streamers as, perhaps rightly so, nobodies that shouldn't be given much credit or time of day, which, again, perhaps fair. But these guys, because they've been in the industry for 25 years and everybody remembers G4, when G4 emails them asking, hey, can we interview you about Gotham Knights? They say, oh yeah, hell yeah, come on, let's talk. And so they don't even necessarily need a huge channel or a ton of reach to get that, which is one of the benefits of just the connections that they have. But with all of this, like, oh my God, wait.
Would you like to introduce yourselves?
Sure. My name is Christopher McMahon.
So
and I'm the level.
listen, like the audio quality.
But now we're going to talk about Gotham Knights, and with me I've got two of the developers on the game. Would you like to introduce yourselves?
Oh God. So audio's peaking all over the place. Like, it's, you would not think that this is a super professional production, which is funny, but like, they sit down and then they talk and
The best in general.
do like a panel interview type of thing about the game. And it's fine. It's fine content. I don't think it's worth millions of investment. Like, I think you get two guys that are independent and they'll pump this out probably faster and way cheaper. And that's kind of what they realized. It's at 56,000 views. Like, straight up, if I put together a 27-minute video where I even had dev interviews, so presumably this involved like a flight out to the studio, this involved like a week plus of work, and it did 56,000 views, I would be very upset at that performance. And it's just because, like, you know, if you're going to put a certain level of effort in, you need a certain return on that. And they weren't achieving it. They were struggling pretty hard. I mean, you can see all of the videos from a year ago, about a year ago. But you can see there's a lot of other stuff, and like 19,000 views, 18,000, 31, 41, 19, 197. That's pretty good. And then back down 48, 9.9. 12,000. You know, these view counts are just not sustainable for perhaps even a team of 2 people, much less a team of like 30 plus people, which is what they had. So they started getting tons of layoffs involved with this. But the first domino to fall wasn't actually any of this stuff. It wasn't that people just didn't really like it. Initially, when they launched it, people liked it. What happened was what's known as the Frost meltdown, which I think there's a handful of problems with this, which is why it resonated so poorly with everybody. But basically, Frost, I'm not familiar with Frost. It's I don't really know who this is, but Frost was one of the people on the show pretty regularly. I think one of the commentators, I don't know if Frost was a reviewer too or what, but Frost at one point in the middle of a show just stopped everything and started going off like this.
Player experience versus the solo player one, but I actually want to talk about something so much more important than Red Dead Online.
So she was asked about Red Dead Online, and like that's what they were talking about. And then watch how Frosk proceeds to not talk about Red Dead Online.
Sexism in gaming. In joining G4,
This is not where I thought we were going. But I'm
Yeah, see, everybody is like, I mean, we're supposed to talk about Red Dead. Like, I've said many times, there's absolutely a lot of sexist pieces of crap in the industry. And like, I know firsthand, having tried to play games online with like my wife, the second they hear a female's voice in the chat, it's unbelievable what some of these people will say just being in like a Call of Duty lobby. Like there is a problem with it. And that's why for a lot of female gamers, it's not welcoming. And I think we should try to, overcome that. I think we're all better than that. And that's absolutely a problem, but nobody's doubting that. Like, I think everybody can agree. Probably even those people that say that stuff in COD lobbies would agree. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty sexist. I don't think they would even disagree about this. They're just trying to be funny or trying to make their friends laugh or something. I think it's a bad attempt, but I think they would agree. But what is about to happen is Frosk is about to go off on this like big rant about how the people that are watching the show are all a major part of the problem, are all big, a big part of this. And it basically turns into just lecturing the audience about how bad they are. And shocker, the audience didn't really like hanging around after that, because shocker, when you hang around and like, if you go somewhere and then you're berated, you don't really like going there anymore. Shocker, right?
I had no idea.
I'm listening. Yeah.
In joining G4, I was ecstatic to be part of something that I grew up watching as a child. But every time G4 is brought up in various channels, even in this YouTube channel, we have the chat in front of us. I can see you. Without a doubt, there will be backlash because I'm not as bangable as the previous hosts. It's somehow...
Talk to him, Frost!
It has somehow been expected that you can talk about how much you jerked off to women as a compliment.
That
It's
shit weird.
not a compliment.
It's weird.
It's dehumanizing and it's weird.
And again, I agree with everything Frosk is saying. I would just say that if you want it to stop, this is not how you do it. Because as we've seen many times before with many individual points of reference, if you find a troll and the troll demands your attention and that's what they feed on, and then you feed it your attention, the troll doesn't go away. The troll gets hungrier and stays around and keeps participating and getting more and more rabid. So I agree, this is absolutely a problem. Everything Frosk is saying is true. But in a segment talking about Red Dead Online, there's shocker, this isn't received super well. And guess what? After this, there was a huge influx of that negative type of behavior in their chats. In our stuff, in our comment sections, in all of our stuff, like, when we see stuff that we don't like there was one guy, one just insane person. I don't even know what would compel you to do this, but there was a guy that was going around a lot of our videos on the live channel and then also on the main channel. And I think it was because I didn't like Starfield actually. But basically started posting comments saying that this individual wanted to go and commit pretty horrible acts to my wife and children while forcing me to watch. Pretty horrible stuff. Now, did I start replying to the comments and quote tweet it and post it everywhere? Look at this. This is on it. No, because that's basically what he wants. Instead, we just ban him. We ban all of his stuff. And actually what we do is typically for that, we hide them on the channel so they can still post comments and feel like they're doing something, but it's just not seen by anybody else on the channel, which is, I think, really funny. They think that I'm trolling him so bad. Nobody ever sees the comment again. Nothing you post will ever be seen. So yeah, but that's how you tend to deal with it. With trolls, attention is what they feed on and you cannot give it to them. Otherwise it gets worse and worse and worse. And so with this speech that Frosk gave, again, I think everybody would agree with most of what Frosk is saying, but it's not the time and place. And later on in the speech, it tends to get much more accusatory towards the broad viewership. And people just started to disconnect, and they're like, okay, if I'm going to come here and watch, and like try to relax to video games, like I don't want to have to think about all of this crap. I want to just think about video games, you know?
Women do not exist to be nice on the eyes for you. Morgan Webb, Olivia Munn did not exist to be nice on the eyes for you.
Hey, she cooking, y'all.
And that's just obvious sexism. You don't need to explicitly objectify women or declare that you hate women to be sexist. Just go ahead and check out Thorne's latest meltdown on Twitter for some spark notes. Now, here at Xplay, our reviews are written and produced by a team of people. There are too many games for one person to shoulder the burden. So we divide and conquer. And when we use language like we or I, that's the reviewer. That's coming from the mouth and experience of the reviewer reading that review. And that's not to say that Gerard, TBH, Adam, or myself don't contribute to the reviews. We absolutely do. But it'll always be in varying degrees and take a whole team behind us. That's why we're Xplay and not Adam Play. We have done the experiment.
I'm sorry. It's just, if anybody ever claps like this in any context, I just find it so cringe. No matter how, like, it could be that I was trapped in a mine for 3 weeks, alone, starving, having to drink my own pee, and just miserable. And then if I leave the cave and then I see this clapping, hold on. If I see this, somebody clapping one of the rescuers, I'm going back in the cave. Like, I'm good. I'm good. If you, like, what is that? Stop it. What are we doing? It's the deadpan face too. Just the eyes locked. I'm sorry. It's just so funny. So with all of this, I mean, again, most of what Frost is saying is like, yeah, no, I agree. You're not saying anything that shocking, but the tone, the delivery, the time and place, everything came off to the viewers as accusatory towards them, not like a calling out of the trolls. It came off as lecturing the audience about caring about the looks of the presenters and being sexist in all these various ways. And so viewership started to dry up very quickly. Soon after, Frost left the team, and viewership just kept plummeting and plummeting. And as you can see on the channel now, I mean, they had to shut it down because it just was not paying the bills. It wasn't profitable, and it just didn't make sense. The other piece was Adam Sessler, this guy, in all these thumbnails that you see, one of the big mainstay guys that you saw here. Yeah, this guy, one of the OGs. He has a nasty Twitter addiction. And so he had a habit of like going on Twitter and telling people that he disagreed with politically to go die, and he wished that they ended up like dead and killed and stuff. Just nasty stuff, regardless of who you are or what side of any political aisle you sit. That type of behavior is just like, yeah, shocker. When you tell half like the US that you hope they die, that half of the US doesn't really want to watch you or support you. Again, shocker. But there was just a lot of things. Like, they had a lot of people who I think were convinced that they were invincible, and were convinced that, well, no, we're Xplay, we're G4, we have millions of dollars behind us. We're going to do what we want. The community will suck it up, because that's what they were able to do back in 2005 when there wasn't competition. But now there's competition. And if you don't like the way that the presenters describe things, if you don't like the way that they behave on Twitter, if you don't like the way that they lecture you about being a sexist pig, you just go somewhere else. You watch something else. And that's inevitably what happened. So everybody left, stopped watching, the view counts dried up, and they shut it down. And G4 TV is being shut down only a year after its relaunch. CEO says investment and efforts to revive the network just didn't gain traction. And I mean, again, you can see they had massive teams of people. This is from a picture where they had all of these people on the lower level up the stairs, and then above the stairs is a whole floor of people, writers, editors, staff. I mean, all told, at its peak, this was probably a production with like 50 to 100 people. Yeah, the timing and severity of the cuts took staff by surprise, with talent showing up on set today ready to film, only to have programming canceled as HR reps met individually with employees. While it's not clear what the extent of the layoffs will be. One source said those affected were told that they would receive anywhere between 16 weeks and 6 months of severance based on their tenure with Comcast, G4's parent company. Yeah, they had Comcast behind them. Despite the assurances in subsequent broadcasts, there were no plans to scale back the channel's programming. Xplay host Indiana Froskerin Black, so Frosk, and Attack of the Show co-host Kevin also left shortly afterwards. This has been in motion for a long time. I know there's been some wacky events in the ether as of late, but months and months and months back, this time was sort of decided. The show's going dark for 2 weeks and coming back. I won't be here. Sorry. There's just, again, they shut it down. It didn't work. It didn't work. And it was a great example of why media and how media has changed since the 2005 era. Because in 2005, yeah, this was a great idea. You would have a show committed to gamers. So if gamers wanted content and to see latest trailers and reviews and stuff, they could just turn on G4. And that's what they did. And I remember like hearing the stories of people being like, oh, this new game's launching. Let's go tune into G4 at the exact time the review drops and see what they thought of it. And it was cool. But in the age of the internet, there's just no reason for this to exist. And it's just not competitive. It's why, like, when there were those rumors that Scott the Woz was going to sign a deal and do like a full TV production with crazy high budgets and everything for his show, it just didn't make sense. And that's why he ended up just like rerunning and airing old episodes he had already made, which honestly worked way better. But it's just because times have changed and it doesn't work anymore. So the rise and fall and then re-rise and re-fall of G4 and Xplay was fascinating and unfortunately also very predictable. If they had had some people that could have told them honestly, maybe this isn't a great idea or how you should handle and approach your audience, you know. But that is the tale of G4. It's pretty insane. And maybe like they'll get revamped again. Maybe there'll be another alternative that launches. But I think it just goes to show that when you have a big high production value review and stuff, it's just really hard to remain competitive. It just is. He took my thing.